What's up, unicorns? It is Megan, your friendly neighborhood unicorn. What are we talking about today? Let's see what's on the agenda for today. Nothing too much because I already was talking early this morning when I got off work, headed back to work. It feels like your girl is always at work, but that's beside the point. um, what? Oh my goodness. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. For all of my plant parents out there, or all of my regular plant parents out there, do you know, like, when your plant is beginning to outgrow a pot, or when your children are beginning to outgrow their clothing? Well, no, it's better for plant parents. So we're gonna go back to plants because plants is a better analogy. So when your plant is getting too big for the pot, most plant parents know that you need to change the pot, but prior, like, into a bigger pot, so that the plant can continue to grow, flourish, the roots can continue to spread, and it can be a bigger, better, more beautiful, more fruitful plant, right? With that being said, you don't necessarily know how quickly your plant is growing, like how quickly the roots are growing down in the bottom. There are signs to show you that the plant needs a bigger pot. Maybe it begins to die, maybe it begins to wither, maybe some of the leaves turn brown. Whatever the case might be, it's no longer thriving because it is no longer any room for the roots to grow. Some plants will grow regardless, they'll grow tall instead of wide, but for a lot of plants, if the roots don't have the space to grow, then it will die or not progress, not produce. That's what it felt like for me, and I'm sure for most people, when you are in places where you're made to be small, or you are deemed to be too much, inappropriate, when you're not acting right, when you're not behaving the way the container needs for you to behave in order to be functional in whatever space you're in, right? It feels as if for me, it felt as if I was dying. And that's what depression looked like for me. And so, us living on this floating rock in the sky, or this floating rock in space, um, we're here to have like this life experience. We're here to enjoy the experience that we're having here on this planet. Most aren't aware of that. Most don't know that. Most don't experience that. Most feel like they just deal with life as it comes. They don't believe and or know that they have the power to create or co-create the world that they live in. Therefore, they surrender their will and they become victims of their circumstances. They receive the cards that the universe has dealt to them, and instead of choosing to play the hand that they were dealt well, they determine to either not play, quit, not play, or just lose and say, hey, it's nothing I can do with this. I have only bad cards. And so, boom. Um, However, when I was in the deep, dark bowels of depression, there was only one of two things. I could either delete the whole situation, or I could figure out how to get out of where I was. Because where I felt, the way I felt, it was nowhere else to go. Like, it was, if this was what life was at its peak, with me inside all of the systems And when I say systems, I mean, first of all, you know you got to go to work because you got to pay these bills. Part of the system. Religion, part of the system. Marriage, part of the system. It's these boxes. It's a box inside of a box inside of a box inside of a box. So imagine your plan. Imagine your roots, my roots, being stifled by these systems and beginning to wither and die. I'm grateful for my life experiences, and I'm grateful for where I was at that time, because I know now and I'm able to express to others that life is good. It can be good, and you are the creator of your universe. And you have power over what you experience by how you think, what you say, and what you do. But it begins with how you think, and then it secondly, um how you agree with what you think, how you handle what you think, and then how you express it into the 3D via words, via writing, and then via action. I thought that when I was in religion, like certain things, like I was positive. I thought I was where I needed to be. I thought that like I was having my experiences with source, and those experiences were the realest thing about religion. And what blessed me was that I had that relationship with source prior to religion. And so when I began to wake up, I found the realization that all of the things that had me feeling like I was in a small box or in a pot that was too small for me had nothing to do with source. It had everything to do with the boxes I was placed in, the boxes that I voluntarily placed myself in, and what I was thinking, what I was saying, and what I was doing. All of that was affected by the boxes that were influencing me. And the thing about it is that some people are small house plants. Some plants don't need too much. Roots not gonna grow that much. Probably not gonna be needing to be changed out of a pot that often. However, for me, ever growing, ever evolving, um, I out if if allowed and in the right atmosphere and cultivated by myself, by my words and by my thoughts, I'm ever growing and evolving so rapidly that I grow out of situations, connections, and relationships very quickly, because it's already hard enough for people to relate to me intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally. And I guess that's where I get the unicorn from, because my experience, my life, and what I know is a magical, majestic thing that if you're not on the frequency that I'm on, you won't even hear what I'm saying, and it won't make any sense. But that's good, because that means that only the unicorns will hear me, and that's who my messages are for. Megan the Unicorn, out to infinity and beyond.